Welcome to Broadcast Club Weekly. Recording a bit late, so I hope this goes up in time. This week we actually have a new show, so we're gonna start with that. Yeah, I watched all the stuff that I normally watch, and it's been a pretty damn good week for anime, I gotta say. So there's been some news as well that I would like to talk about first. The Love Live movie has a date and a teaser trailer out. It's called The School Idol Movie, which, was really the most uninspired name they could have gone with, but, it does what it has to do. If you know me at all, you know that I am absolutely in love with Love Live. I have spent far too much money buying Love Live stuff, and people have been far too kind and spent money on sending me Love Live stuff, so thank you, everyone, who have done that over the past year. But anyway, so the movie's teaser is basically just a short clip of the girls dancing in yukatas, I think it's yukatas, with fans and singing a new song. Ellie is the center, which is interesting. Has she been the center in a video before? I don't think so. I don't think she has. That's nice. That's nice. And it will be premiering on June 13, I believe. I should probably have, looked this up before I talked about it, but I think it was June 13. It was 13 or 23rd. There was a 3 in there. But the teaser, it did its job. The CG looks better than in season 2 of Love Live. The quality wasn't great on the teaser, but it looked better to me. The song was good as well. It was only like 30 seconds long. But it's a first PV, and I guess they don't want to give away too much. As far as I know, the story is still not announced. We don't know what it will be about. A lot of people assumed it was going to be a class trip, but like Kaon did, a club trip. But I don't think so, because the teaser has them dancing. And it switches between a giant stage and then standing back on the grass field on which they filmed their first PV, Bokura no Life Kimito Live. Is it? I forget in which part of the sentence life and live is every time. At least I think that was where they were standing. It looked like this, so I'm guessing it's more like they're doing another last performance or something, and even though they're at school, it feels like they're on stage. That was the impression I got, but who knows, I might be reading too much into it. Maybe it was just a cool sequence for the trailer, and maybe it has nothing to do with the actual scenes from the movie. The poster put out as well. The posters, I should say, they don't really say much more either. It's just the girls in said yukatas and holding said fans, and it says Love Live. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. Obviously, I won't be able to see it until it hits Blu-ray, because I can't afford going to Japan. But I will gladly wait for that, because it's Love Live, and it might be the last we see of Love Live in a video narrative form. I mean, I'm sure there will be more PVs and lives and stuff like that happening in Japan, of course. And maybe another season where they do something a bit more different. Since, to be fair, they really stretched out time with the second season. But it was great, so it's okay. Or maybe, who knows, maybe they will pull something like Idolmaster and make sort of a second generation of Love Livers. Or I should say School Idols. That's the important part of the name, after all. I personally would like to see them go pro of some sorts, but and leave the school part out, but I don't think they could do that, still use the Love Live name, but who knows. Either way, I'm excited. So let's get on with the weekly stuff. The new anime this week was the new PreCure, Go Princess PreCure. I have not liked the PreCure series in a while now. Doki Doki PreCure from 2 years ago was dreadful. It started off really good, it turned out really, really bad about, I want to say 15-20 episodes in, and then just got even worse. And then it started getting better towards the end, but it just, the damage was done, it was too late, and it just wasn't worth it. And then it was Happiness Charge PreCure last year to celebrate the anniversary, which made me really excited because I have loved PreCure since the original PreCure. Or Futariwa PreCure, or PreCure if you watch the English version. They didn't use their shortening. And that was not good at all. But it also had a really good start, and it just ended up far too focused on terrible romance. And I realize I am somewhat biased. I don't take an interest in heterosexual romance 9 times out of 10. And as such, especially when it ends up in PreCure, I just sort of like lined out for a second because I'm not interested. Happiness Charge turned incredibly focused on it. Just went incredibly focused on that, and it ended up killing off the interest I had in that show quite quickly, which is a shame. But now we have Go Princess PreCure, and this was the first time I actually weren't excited to watch a PreCure in possibly ever. I had zero expectations going in. I hadn't read up anything. I had seen the characters. People have sent me the character art, and it looked okay. A bit boring, I guess, but like they didn't look terrible. They didn't look great. But I watched the first episode, and I was pleasantly surprised. Surprised is the wrong word. I don't want to say surprised. I don't want to say impressed either. But it was a good episode. And in going in with zero expectations, I guess it did surpass them in a way. But like, it wasn't beyond the quality I would expect from a good PreCure. It was a good first episode. I think Doki Doki had a better first episode, but I think this was probably better than Happiness Charge PreCure, and that was still a good first episode. So, yeah, it was fun. I'm still worried because apparently love and romance and prince and princess is going to be a theme, and after Happiness Charge PreCure, the last thing I wanted was more terrible het romance to be poorly forced into my PreCure, but we'll see how that goes in the end. The girls so far are fun, the little we've seen of them. The main character, Haruka, she becomes Cure Flora, I think, and she has a pretty good introduction. The entire fight, because of course there's a fight sequence with the first transformed bad guy thing in the episode, because it's still PreCure, it's still the same. It's still the same format as it has always been and always will be, which is fine, really. I don't mind that. I don't remember what the new ones were called. The new bad guys, which is a bit of a shame because I should probably remember that, but I don't. So that's. But they basically she fought a giant evil picture book, and. That fight was really good. It was really good, and I really liked Cure Flora's finishing move. She has this really, really awesome, like, beam of flowers. Like, it's a beam made out of flower petals. And when I say beam, it's like a giant laser beam, but it's just flowers. And it looks super awesome. And hits with full power, and, like, that was cool. The transformation sequence was beautiful, really good. Probably the best in a while, I want to say. But that might just be me, because I was so disappointed, because Doki Doki PreCure, even when it was good, just had like the worst transformation sequences PreCure had ever had. They were terrible. And then Happiness Charge had good ones, but I don't know, they felt a bit uninspired. They were still good, but you know. This one, at first it was pretty much on par with Happiness Charge, but then they did this cool thing where like a big ballroom appeared to match the princess theme with like dark starry skies coming in through the windows during the transformation. That was really cool. I liked that. They gave it character, and it was nice. I was impressed, so that's cool. I don't remember what the other PreCures are called. I don't know the characters' names either. We were introduced to both the second and the third PreCure, but, well, they're not PreCures yet. So only Cure Flora so far. The bad guy shown so far, it was named Close, I think. And he looks alright. He looks a bit less silly than the first PreCure villain tends to do in a new PreCure show, but it still looks silly enough to be a PreCure villain, so fine. The fairies are surprisingly cute this time. I always tend to find the fairies pretty annoying in the way they're designed, but they're okay so far. So it's a good episode, and I definitely recommend it. If you at all care about PreCure in 2015, and I do, I really do, because I like magical girl shows. Well, so if you do, you will enjoy it, because it's the good part of PreCure. If you haven't watched PreCure in a few years, and it's because you got tired of it, you won't change your mind. This won't win you over again, but it was good. So moving on to the regular weekly stuff. Okay. Starting off with Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. This was easily the best episode of Idolmaster Cinderella Girls so far, and that says a lot because it has been one of the most entertaining shows. Well, it has been the most entertaining show that's new this season, easily. This was basically a throwback to the first episode of the original Idolmaster anime, in which the girls they walk around shooting a PR video. So every Cinderella girl gets to introduce themselves, and we get to learn more about them, and it's all done from a camera perspective. And it's glorious, and there's so many good Miku moments, and a bunch of other great moments as well from the other characters. I really like Ranko as well. I like all the girls, really. That's what's adorable about the show. Every character is endearing in some way. Even the weird Yakuza look-alike producer, he is entertaining as well, and you know, he gets a chuckle in this episode. At least I think so. Maybe I read it wrong because you don't see his face, but I think he chuckled, and that was like one of those wow moments. So I love this show so much. I really, really do. And a big part of it is because of Miku, because I have not related to a character this much and like seen so much of myself in a ideal way, like, oh, I want to be her, since like maybe K-On! And yeah, I'm Andrea Ritsu for a reason. So yeah, that's wonderful, 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 wonderful. Please watch Idolmaster Cinderella Girls. I can't stress that enough, and I don't have much more to say about it. Can call. After the depressing episode last week, I wasn't sure how they were going to follow it up, and they should follow it up with goofball comedy. Goofball comedy. Okay, I don't know much about Can Call. I want to get into the game, but I've had bad luck with the lottery. So I don't know any of the personalities of the ships going in, but this week we're introduced to the Congo sisters, who are... Wow, are they something? They are goofy as hell, and I love them. They're so fun. And it's so weird because I wasn't sure it was going to work when I first realized the direction they were going in, because, you know, last week ended on a depressing death sequence. And it works great. It really works. It's funny. It's really funny. And the fact that it's funny actually helps the show in its development, because Fubuki, did I get her name right? I can never remember if I get her name right or not. Fubuki needs to learn how to deal with the fact that they lost the ship, even though she didn't really know the ship. And her spending time with the Congo sisters and Shimakase, who, you know, is the ship that, if you don't know anything about Can Call, you have seen in all the fan art, with her thong and her short skirt and her bunny ears and little machines she walks around with, and striped. I have a poster of her. I don't have it up, but I got a poster in a magazine. I was like, I don't know anything about Can Call, but I still know who this is. She's in it, and she's also goofy. But then it actually takes all of that goofiness, and I realize I've been saying goofy a lot, but I like the word. It takes all that goofiness and it uses it to make a point basically. And it ties it all together, and it goes to deal with, like, how to deal with depression and post-traumatic stress and stuff like that. And what it all leads up to is a scene that's one of the strongest scenes in anime this season, if it wasn't for a show later coming up. And I loved it. It was really beautiful, and that's not something I was expecting, because I really didn't expect much from this anime. I really didn't. I always thought that making an anime out of the game, even though I don't play it, I know the basics of it. Even though I don't know the characters, I always thought making an anime of it sounded like a terrible idea, because I couldn't see it working. But now that I see it, and now I see the direction they're going in and how they're doing it, it does work, and it works really, really well. And I am very happy that I decided to pick it up, because not only does it make me want to go back and try the lottery again and try to get in, it makes me just want to see more of these characters. It makes me care about the characters, and it makes the drama so much better. I'm still not sure what my favorite ship is. I think it's Naka-chan, which is fitting, because a friend of mine sent me a Naka-chan doujin last year, so I've had her in my shelf for like, well, a year now, and I'm like, I don't know anything about this character. She looks cute, and, well, turns out she's an idol, and I do love idols, so yeah. Kofuku Graffiti, weird episode this week. Episode with only Kyo, because Kirin is at home, because there's no school the week after. And I wasn't sure she was going to be able to hold up an episode on her own, and she kind of doesn't. This is a bit more boring of an episode, but it's also probably the least, I want to say, weird episode as such, because last week I complained a lot about how the camera angles and presentation is just far too over the top, but this week they scaled it back, and it's calmer. And even though the episode wasn't as good as last week or the week before, that did help me sort of ease more into the series. I still have problems with the presentation, and I think that any other studio and director could have done a better job with Kofuku Graffiti. Sorry, Shaft. But it did help in a way. Even though it was a boring episode in that regard, it kind of needed to be boring, I think, for this week to calm down a bit. And we did get to learn more about Kyo's past, and that was interesting. So yeah, it was okay. It was okay. It's probably the weakest show this season that I'm still watching, but it's still enjoyable, so that's good. Rolling Girls. Rolling Girls was absolutely amazing. I just finished watching it before recording this, which is why I'm recording this so late, because I couldn't get to watching it earlier. But absolutely spectacular episode this week. It was focused on. It was the second part of the Akihabara thing. No, not the Akihabara thing. The Comiket thing. Always Komima, I think they call it. And they resolved that plot and give some more info on blonde girl. I forget her name, but the blonde girl's backstory, which is interesting. Nosumi is really growing on me as the lead character. She's really good. We get to see her take more responsibility and stuff this episode. And the captain of the people who defend Always Komima get more character development as well. And it's really something special. Even though it's not the best show of the season, even though it's not like it's far from the top show this season. I don't think it has a chance of breaking like Shirobako or Idolmaster's reign as my favorite shows this season. But even with that, even though it can't do that, it is so good and so special. It's the most different and special show this season, and I love that because it can take stuff. It can it can take road trip drama, slice of life comedy, and high octane action, and swap between them at odd rates, and they still make it work. And the music is so fucking good, and the style is so good. The art style is beautiful. Every area has a different environmental art style, and it's cool. I love it. I really love it. And it's a shame that I don't see more people talk about it, because I feel this is a show that deserves far more attention than it has gotten. Even though I said Shirobako is a show that everyone who watches anime should watch, I feel this is the show that everyone who watches anime should be watching, in a sense of this is the kind of show I would have expected people to watch. This is the kind of show that if I wasn't into anime right now, and I asked, hey, I want to get back into anime, what should I watch right now? I would want 10 people to yell Rolling Girls at me as the most popular result, because it feels like a show that should be popular. It feels like a show that should be here to change something about the current anime fandom in that regard. This should be the Kill la Kill to last year, or 2 years ago technically, but you know what I mean. I didn't like Kill la Kill at all, but it had a big effect on the anime community, and it left a big mark. I feel like that's the kind of mark I expected that something like Rolling Girls should be able to leave, and no one's talking about it. It makes me sad. It makes me sad because it's really, really special, and it's really, really good. Which is a great way to segue into Shirobako, the best season of the year, so the best anime of the season so far, and the year so far as a result. And this episode was once again something absolutely special. We got to learn Goth Lolly-sama's backstory, which was something really interesting, because he basically ends up talking about... while Shirobako always talks about anime, specifically animation production, and how that works, and it's really interesting, this week also is talked in general about any artist or any creator of anything, and how demands can be put on them, how orders can be put on them, and how you sometimes need help, and how you can basically fall into creative depression and not make any progress, and how to change your outlook on that and how to work with it. And it was really well written, and my favorite scene and moment in anime this week was because of that. So once again, Shirobako is something everyone should be watching, and I do hope it's doing as well as the predicted numbers say it is, because it needs to be a hit. It needs to be a hit. Finally, we have oh wow, I can't talk. Yurikuma Arashi. Okay. Oh wow. This was why I was dreading to talk about this one, because okay, let's just get it out of the way. It was an okay episode. It was not as good as last week. It was probably the weakest episode of the series so far. With that said, it also had my favorite moments of the series so far. It has some of the most funniest moments and some of the most just nice and endearing moments of the series so far. But this week focuses on Lulu's backstory. And Lulu's backstory tells the story of when she was a princess in the Bear Kingdom. And basically it's about how she ended up less popular after the kingdom got a prince, and how she deals with that and the prince dying. And that in and of itself, I felt was, the way it was told felt odd, but fine. But then that ends up the prince dying ends up being her motivation for joining Ginkgo. And I don't know. I spoke to some other lovely ladies that I know on Twitter, and they agree with me that they felt it was very out of place, especially in a show about lesbians and with the Invisible Story referring to heteronormativity and standing out and stuff like that. it felt incredibly out of place and just wrong to have a female character, a otherwise strong female character who was incredibly outgoing and incredibly showing affection towards Ginkgo, to have her entire backstory and characterization be built upon something that relates to a male character, because that is a terrible trope, and it wasn't done well here at all, and it really hurt the episode, and it hurt my view on the series. With that said, it was still a fine episode. It was very entertaining. It was very funny, and I still look forward to tomorrow when the next episode comes out. But yeah, it's a shame. I really didn't want that in my show. And that's anime this week. And I think I don't have much more to say, really. I haven't watched anything else. I might be getting up, since it is on my YouTube channel, I should be getting up my Anime of the Year list, finally. It's a bit late, I know, but it should be going up probably around 2 or 3 days, maybe. So, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.